Guys, I got a question today. Someone is preparing for their first ever boxing match and they're training really hard and they asked me, what should I be doing with my strength and conditioning? So I thought I would make this video for anyone that's facing their first fight or thinking about fighting for the first time. It's a question I've got a lot. Hopefully this helps you. I've packed it with information on how to train. Let's get into it. So I expect you have seen the movies, you watch a lot of boxing, you know it's the hardest sport in the world with the fittest athletes around, and you're probably thinking that I need to run, I need to skip, shadow box, you're probably doing that all day anyway while you're making breakfast. Circuit training, bag work, pads, sparring, press ups, burpees. You need to run to get the weight off or manage your weight. What about weight training, strength training? Should you be doing that? Should it be medicine balls, kettlebells, Olympic lifting, all these different things? Well, I'm guessing if it's your first fight, you're still in a learning phase. Your first fight is something you're going to remember forever, no matter how many fights you have after that, or if it's the only one you ever do, you're always going to remember it. It's really important that you focus on the sport. Take a step back, relax, and remember. The best way to prepare for a boxing match is by boxing. I'm going to give you some examples of what I mean. I'm guessing if this is your first fight or if you're thinking about fighting for the first time, that you have a job, you have something going on outside of the gym during the day, which takes up the majority of your time. And it means that your boxing training is conducted in the evening because that's when the gym is open, the classes are on, your mates and training partners are all training at the same time. So you'll see I've laid out a 7-day training week here, and all the boxing training takes place in the evening. I've allowed for double sessions on 3 days, and you're also going to see 2 rest days. And some of you are probably thinking, 2 days rest a week? This guy's crazy. I'm hardcore. I'm going to train 7 days a week. Let me tell you, athletes that take 2 rest days out of every 7 days are 50% less likely to become injured than athletes who rest only 1 day out of every 7. I advocate 2 rest days, 5 training days per 7 days of time. You can see different sessions in the morning. Now I'm going to go into what I mean by fitness and strength. If you struggle with your fitness, with your aerobic cardio base, you can consider methods to improve that in these morning sessions. Similarly, if you struggle with strength, physical strength, you can consider some strength training. But I've designed this on the basis that you're probably about 6 weeks away from your fight. You've got to remember that's not a lot of time, and you've got to learn one of the hardest sports around. It's very technical and it's very physical, and there's a lot going on. You want to prioritize your boxing training and use your boxing training to make the physical changes to your fitness rather than other methods that aren't as specific. You're not going to get yourself much stronger in 6 weeks before a fight, not with all the other training that you're doing. So there isn't really any point wasting your time with weight training sessions when you could be doing something else like boxing or recovering from boxing. That said, if you are not strong for your weight, so for instance, can you do 40 press-ups, that's 40, in a row, and 10 chin-ups? So arms completely straight, chin over the bar, 10 reps. If you can do that, then you probably have sufficient upper body strength that you can spend your time on your boxing training. You're 6 weeks away from a fight or 8 weeks away from a fight. If you can't do that, you're not strong enough to do that, then you probably would have some value in improving your strength alongside your boxing training. Fitness is the same. I'm going to address that in one of the later slides. If you're really busy, you can't do morning sessions and you can only train once per day in the evenings, this is what I recommend. Still with 2 rest days and 5 training days, but you can change the emphasis of your boxing training so you can have a very fitness orientated day. I'm going to give you plenty of examples, don't worry, and you can have a sparring orientated day. Now you'll see that I've got sparring down twice here and 3 times in the other slide. Now, should all this sparring be balls out, full contact, hardcore sparring? No, it shouldn't. Heavy sparring is useful, but if you overdo it, it takes away more than it gives. In my view, you should have one key session in the week. You could think of it like a team sport. It's your game day, your match. One session, which is very hard sparring, where you test yourself, you test the improvements that you've made, and you also get great training stimulus, and you should do it in the same length of time, rounds and rest, that you're going to fight in. You should have another 1 or 2 sparring sessions in the week. They should be lighter, more technical, either conditioned sparring, where you're working on a sequence of attack and defense, or specific combinations, and or sparring with opponents where you're able to try things without the fear of your head getting taken off. If you're just trying to survive in all your sparring, you can't learn. And the sparring is the most important thing. That's where you learn new techniques and you try things out. But you have to do that with some of the fear reduced. So if you're getting 7 shades or whatever knocked out of you every time, you're not going to progress. You have to have a balance between light sparring and heavy sparring. So do you need to run 6 weeks away from your first fight? What do we think? Take your resting heart rate. So when you wake up in the morning, before you get up, count the beats per minute. If your resting heart rate is under 60 beats per minute, it's an indication you likely have quite a good aerobic base. If this is the case, and you're quite close to your first fight, your time is best spent doing boxing specific work. And I'm going to give you precise examples of what I mean below, rather than wasting time going for 5-mile runs or getting up in the morning and running and then getting to the gym really tired. Use your time efficiently to get fit for boxing. Here are some examples of how to do that. The best is sparring, as I've said, and you should spar. If you're going to fight 2-minute round, 1-minute rest, that's how you should spar. You can also longer rounds. So if you're going to fight 2 minutes, why don't you spar for 3 minutes and rest for 1? Alternatively, you can do some rounds where you same length, but you half the rest period, so rest for 30 seconds. Mixing all these up is a great way to improve your fitness. One of my favorites for novice and intermediate fighters is to have 3 of you training together. You are on for the full round, let's say it's 3 minutes, and every 30 seconds you change your opponent so that they can really pour it on you for 30 seconds, and then they switch out, someone else comes in and does the same thing, but you stay on for the whole time. In this way, it increases the average intensity of the round, and it's a great way to push your fitness forward in a specific way. You hit the bag or pads, and you can use these intensive aerobic intervals with a 1-to-1 work and rest. So for example, 30 seconds on the bag, going hard, 30 seconds rest, but it's active rest, so still moving around, footwork, up on your toes, moving your head. And you repeat for 8 minutes, rest for a couple minutes, and repeat for 3 rounds. You could do the same with 15 seconds on, 15 seconds off. So 15 seconds high intensity activity, 15 seconds footwork, low intensity recovery. Repeat for 8 minutes for 3 rounds. Much better than going for a run when you're 6 weeks or 3 weeks out from your fight. You can also do some circuits, and you can use, again, if you're going to fight a 2-minute round with a 1-minute rest, then you can break up the circuit and you can do, say, 30 seconds of cardiovascular activity on a bike, air bike, and then 30 seconds of bag work, 30 seconds of burpees, 30 seconds of pads, 1-minute rest, repeat for 5 rounds. Again, it's much better and more specific than going for a run or something like that. If, however, you've taken your resting heart rate and it's above 60, or you know that you struggle with your aerobic fitness, you'd probably benefit from some steady state cardiovascular exercise like going for a run. The problem with doing high intensity intervals, if you don't have that aerobic base, is that they don't cause the same changes in the heart and lungs. You have to keep the intensity down. So if you have a heart rate monitor, it should be between 130 to 150 beats per minute while you're running or cycling, whatever it is you're doing. That's the kind of intensity where you could talk to someone if you had to. If you go above that, you start to create different it changes, different adaptations. What you want is a steady state, continuous activity that stretches the chambers in the heart. So if you don't have a resting heart rate below 60, and if you know that you struggle with your aerobic base, 2 sessions a week. Now you can do a run, or you could do 5 minutes, for example, of different activity, 5-minute shadow boxing, 5 minutes skipping, 5 minutes on the treadmill, no rest. Repeat that for 45 to 90 minutes twice a week, and that will help you with this aerobic base. Most people who are a few weeks away from their first fight will have been training for some time, and they probably have a sufficient enough base that they need to focus most of their energy on hit and don't get hit and the sport of boxing. Thank you very much for watching this, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please comment, share it with your friends, like it, and if you have questions, send them to me. I'll be happy to make more videos and put out more content for whatever questions you may have.